What a view from up here, wouldn't you say? Welcome in, guys, and welcome back to the city of Goldcrest. And where we left off last time we were out here working on the previous episode, we had just taken this entire corner of the city and completely overhauled the terrain. We took a very scuffed little cliffside that was remaining from an old world edit, bringing of the city into this world from a previous seed, and kind of surgically getting it in here, but not to the best of our ability. And so we went ahead and we smoothed it over. We got the slope all the way up to the mountainside all worked out real nice and detailed with the grass and everything. So happy with how that turned out. We also took down a little bit of this wall right here that we determined wasn't very necessary, and we built another wall over there on that side of the city. But today what we've got ahead of us is, to start out with at the very least, a little bit of terraforming work that needs to be done. Now, before I start getting rid of any of the actual terrain and reshaping the actual shape of the place, one thing that is still a very glaring issue at this point is all of the coarse dirt that kind of rings around the city in this big square shape. As a matter of fact, if I land right here and take a look at the map, you can see it very clearly from overhead that we have this very square looking shape in the form of the coarse dirt. Obviously, you kind of get that a little bit with the walls here, but you definitely see it with the coarse dirt. I definitely need to get rid of all of that that isn't roadway coarse dirt, and that'll help make things a lot easier to kind of distinguish between, and it'll allow us to get onto the next phase, which will be a number of things working with the terrain and terraforming in general. So my plan is, after we get the course start done, we're probably going to start our focus right here on this little hill that I just want to kind of take down to the rest of the kind of neighboring levels right here. You can see it's a very kind of consistent wide open plain right here, and then there's just this very abrupt hill here, and over there kind of makes a little bit more sense because it's, you know, it's kind of a bigger plateau as it kind of comes up and it kind of flows with the rest of the terrain. But this hill, I think this can definitely go. I'll kind of smooth that over, get something that works a little bit better for us, and it'll allow us to start planting some fields and stuff eventually once we get it a lot more tame, a lot more smoothed over. We'll also do a little bit over here, I think, as well, maybe just help that a little. And beyond that, everything over here I think I'm happy with. I don't think there's anything we need to do around this side of the city. I think this is all pretty good. Maybe a little work with the river at some point. I'm still deciding on that, if we want to spend time on changing that up a little bit, because I think we could if we really wanted to. I'll keep that in mind. Something over here maybe as well. I could make this slope a little more gradual and not so sudden and steep. And then over here, this is the big one. This is the big one. Starting right here around this corner and then all the way down this kind of quickly thrown together makeshift mini cliffside. I want to get rid of all of it and just kind of redo it. So we're probably going to have to get a little creative right around here. I'm probably going to keep this little hill that kind of comes up to the wall, but from right here all the way down to the end of the stone and a little further, I need to dig a lot. We're going to need to get rid of quite a bit of the terrain right here and make sure that we can cut it all down nice and slowly into the next bit of the terrain over there. But with that being said, and everything planned out and ready, we got to get to digging. So today's going to be a busy episode. Let me get on that, and I will catch up with you guys in just a second.
Look at those palm trees, damn!
Okay, hello, hi, I'm interrupting the time lapse, but check this out. We have officially, let me hit the F3 right here, hit day 16,000. It's just to the right of my, or left, I guess right if you're me, but left if you're looking at me. I think, yeah, that's how it works, to the left of my head all the way over. Day 16,000, that's crazy, dude. That is a huge milestone, and that's super exciting. as we're starting to get a lot of progress done and getting ready to head to the next main city build around this time as well. Super cool. Wanted to show you guys that. Anyway, back to the work that we're doing. There we go. Now, that hill is no more. Well, I guess that's not entirely true. There is a little bit of a hill still, as I didn't want to completely flatten the place out. That would start to look a little strange. And honestly, at this point, I'm still not sure about the coastline right here. Or I guess, I don't know, do you call it a coastline if it goes right into a river? I'm not too sure. I don't know what you call it. The river bank? I don't know. Something like that. But wherever it comes up into the terrain right here, I don't know. From up here, I definitely don't like it. From down there, it wasn't so bad. As a matter of fact, if we jump down here and kind of see it a little bit better, like if you're in the river or you're over on this side or whatever it might be, it kind of works, but maybe I need to get rid of some more of these and have more of it just kind of come up 2 blocks or whatever. We'll have to see. But I figured anything was better than what we had, especially over there. This is kind of more natural and good feeling. But over here, that is that is something I gotta fix. I think that was when I brought the world in and I just needed a makeshift kind of something that worked on the hillside. I think I'll fix that. But anyway, we've got it all dug out, and I went pretty far in every direction. At first, I thought I was just going to be getting rid of the hill right around where the beacon is right here, but as it turned out, to get the terrain to flow with everything else around the surrounding regions, I needed to come all the way out here and kind of blend it in there. The sand is, of course, the future road, and there's even going to be a bridge over here as well where the sand kind of crosses, so I'm going to bring this down a little probably. And I had to go way back here as well towards this little garden area and around the houses over here. But all in all, I think we blended it in a way that works pretty well. At this point, there is one glaring issue that remains with this specific part of today's project, and that is, where is all the grass? So I'm going to work on fixing that now. We got to do a lot of replacing on the stone and the granite and diorite and andesite and everything else in between, and get some actual grass growing on top of the block grass, and then hopefully we get something that looks real nice and pretty and ready for some more trees and maybe even a couple more buildings. We'll see. We definitely got some room to do something here. But either way, let's jump back into it. I got to get this place looking a little bit better. Okay, now look at this. I am super happy with how this ended up turning out. Of course, same as what I did on the other side of the city when I was done doing the terraforming, bone meal it all up, try to get rid of all of the poppies and dandelions and all that kind of stuff, just because it feels a little bit too much with how the bone meal does it. And again, I might come back through with some hand-placed flowers of all kinds of types, depending on, especially if we decide to build some houses out here and extend the roadway over here as well. But I think we've blended this in about as good as we could hope for. I'm really happy with it. It's a shame that I just ran out of rockets and I can't fly up there to show you right here, but let's kind of walk around it for a little bit. I did keep a lot of the tall grass, and you might be wondering, because I know a lot of people like to get rid of the tall grass as it starts to form when they bone meal like crazy. I do like the tall grass. I like to keep it to a certain degree. I do get rid of some little spots of it every so often, just so it's not too overboard. But all in all, I'm really happy with this. This is a perfect way to overhaul this part of the terrain over here within the city of Goldcrest. And now, in terms of the terraforming, we can turn our attention to the big, long, weird cliffside that is on the southern side of the city over here. That is also something that I might look at plugging up that little cave right there. But either way, for the terraforming on today's episode, I don't want to go overboard and spend the entire time working on terraforming itself. So I'm still trying to think about what it is I want to do besides the terraforming. What would work that doesn't require a lot of the terraforming? And I'm thinking what we can probably do at this point within the city before we get to knocking out that huge terraforming project is perhaps a little bit of an overhaul for the roads as a whole throughout the city. One thing I've been wanting to do is just go through every single road that we have and just kind of touch them up, make them look a little bit better, kind of update them a little, and get them to a place that I like a little bit more than where they are right now. The roads I don't consider a part of the, I guess, quote unquote, original feel of the city, like the buildings, for example, and some of the low quality walls and stuff. The roads I think we can definitely change, and it'll be a nice subtle improvement that won't change the entire feel of the place and make it feel like you're somewhere else entirely. That would be, you know, something that would happen if we started changing the buildings and everything. And if we do build more buildings, I'm going to try to stick as true as I can to the old style here as possible, because again, the goal isn't to completely rebuild this place. It is just to touch it up and kind of modernize it in a way, get it looking nice and presentable wherever we can and however we can, while keeping the original nostalgic feel. But with that, we've got some road stuff to do, so let me go get prepped, and I'll jump with you guys in just a second here. All right, so I've gone and gotten a bunch of different things that I could use for the pathways, and I think I've settled on the exact palette that I want to go for. And you can kind of see it behind me a little bit. So this is a palette that does entirely depend on me using the custom resource pack that I have been making specifically for this world. However, I don't really think I'll ever be using anything different, especially because I'm making it, so I can always just update it and I don't have to worry about it not being updated. Anyway, take a look at this. It's a completely different style from what we had previously set up here in the city of Goldcrest. And this section right here did not already have a path. If you'll notice, this is the brand new wall that we built on the last episode, and we only had a couple pieces of sand kind of dotting out this spot. So I went ahead and just built in a brand new section here so that we can compare it to an existing section, which it meets right about here. Now, this pathway right here is just using gravel. It is simply just gravel, obviously relying on the randomized texture that I have in there. Sometimes there's a little coarse dirt mixed in, sometimes some wood mixed in next to the buildings and stuff like that. The occasional cobblestone for the slabs, because I think back when I first did this, I didn't have a coarse dirt kind of block to use. Of course, now I have that with the petrified oak slab retexture. So we'll definitely not have any cobblestone in the road anymore, but I really like what we have here. Instead of having just one block with randomized textures for the most part, now we are kind of upgrading on a couple different levels. I've switched to coarse dirt as the main block, and I've also brought in some nether brick. So this is my nether brick texture in this resource pack. As you can see, I went for something that was not at all the reddish purple that the vanilla game has, but instead a very unique brown, or at least a pre 1.19 unique brown. I think this would actually probably be a good block to use with mud that we got on 1.19. I haven't actually tried it yet, but it was a very unique color to go for, a really nice brown that we didn't already have. So I went ahead and did that to nether brick in this resource pack. And then the chiseled nether brick, I went ahead and gave an alternate stone brick texture right here, and so you have a couple different options. This one, of course, a lot cleaner, a little bit lighter even. This one a little more busy and maybe a little darker. I went ahead and mixed those both in with the coarse dirt, and while they're not the most perfect kind of color palette to bounce off of each other, it is a little extreme right here, a little darker than the coarse dirt, and a little noticeable at times. I think it's fine, especially later on when I start to implement things like connected texture compatibility within this resource pack. I'll be able to say, okay, I want coarse dirt to overlap a little with some of these brick textures, and even grass can do a little bit with the coarse dirt and what have you, and then we start to get a really nice blend eventually. Whenever I stop procrastinating, actually do that to the resource pack. But all in all, I really like this. Another thing that I did, I'm gonna have to take care of that guy in a little bit. Another thing I did was I started to bring in some grass on top of the road here. This is something that I have not been doing for that long. It is a very very good looking technique. I absolutely love when a road does this, but I had never done it to a road of mine previously within this world at the very least. I only started experimenting with it in some other worlds that I have been on as of late, and I absolutely love it now that I've kind of introduced it into the paths that I have been making. For the most part, it is definitely something that I don't see myself going away from. It kind of just depends on the context, I think. For a city like Goldcrest here, where it's not the most populous place, and it's a very naturey, overgrown, not a very kind of well-kept place in regards to like the grass overgrowing and all of the flowers and bushes and you know, grass on the road, for example, right? It kind of fits the vibe really well. It's not a very, I guess, straightforward, clean-cut, super tidy kind of city. They definitely just kind of let the world do as it will around them in terms of, you know, nature and how things grow and everything. And so I think the grass on the roads in this city makes a ton of sense, especially as opposed to somewhere like Lethio, for example, the mountain kingdom that we are building on stream. You guys have seen it here in a couple different episodes at various times. The roads there are very much the same as the old ones here, just a bunch of gravel, relying on the randomized texture. And yeah, it probably could have been better if I didn't just do that, but at the end of the day, it's a very clean-cut kind of road system there that I was trying to go for, and I think we mimicked it pretty well, all things considered. At the end of the day, one of the most important things that we can do is to make sure that whatever we're building, wherever we're building, and however we're building it, it fits into the theme of the region, of the area, it ties in well, and it doesn't feel out of place. Because at the end of the day, while the builds don't have to look they don't have to be objectively the most beautiful thing you've ever seen built in Minecraft. That's not my goal. My goal isn't to build the greatest thing I've ever built in Minecraft. The goal, above all, is to build an accurate recreation and accurate representation to the books that I am writing, the universe that this is based off of, and so that it fits within the lore and accurately kind of gives you the various feels, the atmosphere, the setting, and the whole vibe all around of whatever the place might be that we're focused on. But anyway, wanted to show you guys that and kind of walk you through my thought process on it and some of the interesting details there. At this point, I need to start replacing a little bit more of the road, so I'm going to get on that, and I'll keep you guys updated as we go. So I've gone ahead and done a good section of the road here throughout the city of Goldcrest. I don't have a ton of it done, but I've gotten just about a whole block, or kind of halfway through this block of the city right here, just to see what the road would look like on a larger scale, or I guess with more of it done. And as you walk through, I definitely think this is going to be the way to go. I really like it, especially once you get to a section where this is the only road you see, and you don't have to worry about seeing the old road, and then it gets a little confusing and weird. But when you're standing like right here, for example, and this is the road that you see kind of go out in every direction, I think it's a really good fit. And I think one thing that's going to make this look a lot better is redoing the streetlights, something that I've wanted to do while we're here as well. I've been taking a couple of them down as I need to widen out the road a little bit. But we'll definitely come up with something new for the streetlights here. And also, once we get all of the trees built and everything, I think that'll just complement the road even more, as I do plan to have some along the sides of the roads and whatnot at various stages throughout the city. But all in all, I think this turned out really cool. So I guess with that then, I'll go ahead and start working on completing the rest of the roads throughout the city. We can go ahead and get those built and done, and we'll make a cool little fancy time-lapse out of it. So I'll see you on the other side. Well, I have gone ahead and replaced all of the main roads throughout the entire city of Goldcrest with the new style that we came up with. And I've gotta say, now that all of it has been replaced and we can properly see the whole thing coming together with a road that sticks out a little more, but also feels just a little better all around, a little more natural as well. I'm really, really happy with it. And I didn't replace absolutely everything throughout the city. You may notice that in some instances it's just a mix of grass and coarse dirt. I did that a lot around the kind of woodcutter area and a lot around various houses where it might go out into like a little garden out front or out back, or similar instances like that. And then over in the inner city within the walls over here, I decided to keep the original look as much as I can, because at the end of the day, although this place definitely leaves a lot to be desired in terms of how it looks with the walls, the buildings, the ground, the path, absolutely everything about this little intersection right here, this was the very first thing that I had built in this world. This was the first part of the city of Goldcrest that was constructed. Everything within this little wall right here. This is where it started. It started with this ravine right here as the, I guess, more inner part of the inner city. This is where it started. This is the very first thing I ever did. The very first little house that I was staying in when I first made the world. So even though it's not my favorite build, even though it doesn't look very good today, especially in comparison to the other builds, I wanted to keep as much of it intact as I could. I didn't want to do anything else to this as a means of really holding true to what I mentioned earlier in terms of, you know, we got to keep the original feel of the place intact. I don't want this to be, you know, something that is just completely rebuilt from the ground up. I want to keep a reminder to myself in this world, a visual kind of representation of how far I've come as a Minecraft builder, and also how far this world has come from when it initially started, when I first made this project. So the only thing I did was a little bit of terrain work up on that road right there that leads up to the palace. It was looking a little weird, so I just got rid of a couple pieces of dirt and whatnot to make myself actually be able to live with it. And from there, the rest of it I'll keep. I also replaced all the cobblestone slabs with the coarse dirt slabs that we have as the petrified oak slab retexture, of course, and I called that good. So everything outside of the main walls, road-wise, has been replaced. I'm really happy with it. And now that that has all been replaced, we can, in the future here, in one of the upcoming episodes, we can start expanding the roads beyond the limits of the city and take it to the various distances that we deem necessary, I guess, depending on how many fields we decide to build, what farmhouses we plan to put in here, all that good stuff, right? We need to build a bridge that goes across the water. And speaking of across the water, I need to do a lot of terraforming over here on that little coastline. We've also got to worry about this whole little kind of cliffside right here, this steep drop off that I want to eliminate entirely and kind of fade naturally into the terrain back here, and then work out the rest of the roads from there. We've got one on that side of the city that's going to kind of go out there. We have one that comes in right there, the main one that I had planned, and shoots in there, and we might have some more roads that we build as well. But all of that is something that I think we'll look at getting into on the very next episode, whether it's a little bit more of the terraforming and expansion of the roads, or maybe we start properly planning out some of the expansion in terms of more buildings and where we might want to do some of the crop fields, all of that kind of stuff. It's all kind of towards the top of the list of what I want to accomplish coming up here as the very next little bit. There is also the road lighting. That's something that we'll probably take a look at tomorrow, get that done and out of the way real quick. Redoing the lighting, that is. I'm not a big fan of these oak fence kind of street light design things that I had going on. And of course, we're saving the trees for the very end. We want to make sure that we do the trees after everything else is done, as I think that'll be the best time to do them, where we can put them in the perfect spot and we can make them the perfect size and shape and everything to coexist, that is, with the surrounding buildings or whatever it might be around. But with that, I think that's gonna be good enough for this episode, and I'm really happy with that progress. So I hope you guys enjoyed seeing the roads get overhauled, enjoyed seeing some of the terraforming happen, and I hope you're excited for the very next episode where we can start to knock out even more of this. We are flying along with the project that is renovating the city of Goldcrest here. I am so happy with how fast we're able to be, how fast we have been getting some of this done. I hope that we can keep it up. I hope that the rest of the project doesn't take all too long, so that we can jump into the very next project as soon as possible. Oh, it looks like I had forgotten to put my Goldcrest shield back on. Well, that's all right. I'll try to remember that for the next one. Anyway, have a good one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you on the next one, and until then.